Hi guys, so there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening in 2015. First of all, Jupiter is still exalted in the sign of Cancer, and Jupiter will be there until July 13th. Saturn is now in the sign of Scorpio, and Saturn will be there all year. There are going to be two total eclipses. There's going to be a total solar eclipse on March 20th, and there's going to be a total lunar eclipse on April 4th. And then dates that Jupiter and Venus are going to be combust are August 15th, Venus is going to be combust, and on August 26th, Jupiter is going to be combust. And these are dates that I want you guys to keep in mind. And then there's going to be a beautiful conjunction between Jupiter and Venus on July 1st. So that's going to be a good time to do something that is beneficial, that's happy, that's auspicious, that's enjoyable, etc. And then finally, Mercury is going to be retrograde 3 times. Mercury is going to be retrograde January 21st until February 1st, May 18th until June 11th, and September 17th until October 9th. Okay, let's talk about the eclipses really quick. The eclipses happen when the nodes of the moon, the north node and the south node, which in Vedic astrology are termed Rahu and Ketu, they cause a shadow on the sun or the moon. So the sun and the moon represent our mind and our soul. So what ends up happening is there's a shadow that covers our soul, it covers our mind. There's a shadow of a doubt, there's confusion, there's uncertainty during these times. We don't see things clearly. We don't really see where we're going. Things are like kind of, dawn and dusk. Things are shady. Things are shadowy. Things are smoky. So during these times, during an eclipse, we want to avoid anything auspicious, especially on the day of the eclipse. And if you can help it, don't go outside that day, but most importantly, do not look at the eclipse. Following an eclipse, pay attention to the nakshatra that the eclipse takes place. This year, the solar eclipse is going to take place in the nakshatra of Hasta, and the lunar eclipse is going to take place in the nakshatra of Uttara Bhadrapada. So what you guys want to do is remember these nakshatras, and following 3 to 6 months after the eclipse, do not do anything important. Do not get married. Do not purchase a house. Do not sign a large contract, etc. Do not do anything that's very important when a planet is transiting these two nakshatras. Now, eclipses usually do not affect everyone equally. Most people will not have a planet in the nakshatra that the eclipse takes place, but some of us do have planets in those nakshatras. So check your natal chart, check your Vedic astrology birth chart, and see if you have any natal planets in the nakshatra of Hasta, which happens in the sign of Virgo. This is between 10 degrees and 23 degrees 20 minutes of Virgo. And check to see if you have a planet in the nakshatra of Uttara Bhadrapada. And this one takes place in the sign of Pisces between 3 degrees 20 minutes of Pisces to 16 degrees 40 minutes of Pisces. So if you guys have any planets in Pisces or Virgo, then the significations of those planets or whatever houses they rule or whatever natural qualities that these planets signify may tend to get affected by the eclipse, but the effect will be more pronounced if your planet happens to fall in one of these nakshatras. Okay, so the other 2 dates for you guys to keep in mind are the dates that Venus and Jupiter are combust. These 2 planets are the most beneficial planets in astrology. And so when these 2 planets happen to be combust, you guys also want to avoid doing anything auspicious. Getting married, purchasing a house, selling a house, signing a contract, going on an interview, or just anything that's very important that signifies something that's long term. You guys don't want to do it during these the combustion of any of these two planets. So with that being said, again, Venus is going to be combust on August 15th, avoiding anything about a week or two prior to that date, a week or two after the date, and then Jupiter is going to be combust on August 26th. Finally, keep in mind the dates that Mercury is retrograde, because these are dates that you guys don't want to make any large purchases. Mercury represents communication, it represents the intellect, discrimination, the ability to judge correctly, the ability to analyze. And when Mercury goes retrograde, things tend to get a little bit fuzzy. We do not analyze things correctly. We analyze things in a backward way. We don't judge correctly. We don't see the flaws in things. We're not able to discriminate very well between right and wrong, or between good or bad. And so if you guys, don't go on a shopping spree, don't sign any contracts, don't make a large purchase, do not buy a house, do not get a car during a retrograde Mercury. Because what will end up happening is you guys might regret it down the road. Then once Mercury goes direct, then you guys will see the flaws in your purchase. You guys will want to return it. Sometimes you can return it, sometimes you can't. So just keep that in mind, and keep those dates in mind. The dates that Mercury is retrograde, do not do anything that's highly auspicious. The first half of the year is looking very good financially for you. Jupiter is sitting in your second house in the sign of Cancer, exalted. He's bringing that growth and expansion in the income, the wealth, the resources. The second house also has to do with speech and vocabulary and speaking. So some of you might be inspired to learn a new language during this time. Others of you might be inspired to just focus on your speaking ability. Jupiter is aspecting the 10th house of Pisces, and the 10th house has to do with career, with work. There's expansion for many of you in your work, in your career. There's growth for the first half of the year, many opportunities. For some of you, if you're looking for a new job, the opportunities are out there. So turn in applications, get job interviews. This is a very auspicious time for your work. Jupiter and Saturn, both aspecting the sign of Scorpio, which is your 6th house, will bring a greater focus into the house regarding health. So many of you may find yourself becoming more involved in health regimens, in becoming more involved, joining the gym, eating healthier, just becoming more knowledgeable and more focused regarding a healthy lifestyle. Now, the 6th house also has to do with debts. And the first half of the year should not be so bad because Jupiter will be aspecting this house. However, I would encourage you guys not to take out any loans the first half of the year while Jupiter is still aspecting your 6th house, because during the first half of the year, Jupiter's protecting the house that has to do with debts and lending money, owing money, etc. However, the second half of the year, Jupiter will no longer be aspecting this house and Saturn will be there by himself. So the second half of the year may be a little bit more difficult to pay off your debts. That's why I would encourage you guys to not take out any more debt than you already have at this time. Jupiter and Saturn are also aspecting the 8th house, which is the sign of Capricorn. So there might be some sudden gains that you were not expecting, either through inheritance or through joint finances, through insurance companies, etc. So that's also one of the things. And the 8th house has to do with change and transformation. So first of all, one of the things that you guys might experience is unexpected events happening in your life the first half of the month. Certain circumstances that just come at you left and right you were not expecting. But as a result, these cause a change in your identity, a transformation in your consciousness. So ultimately, it leads to a change in consciousness, but it leads to an elevated change of consciousness. Jupiter is then going to be entering the sign of Leo on the 13th of July. So for the second half of the year, the house that becomes activated is the third house of self-efforts. And the third house also has to do with hobbies. So many of you may become more interested in your hobbies during this time. You guys might put more emphasis, more focus in doing things that you guys actually love, things that you guys were putting off. The third house has to do with teamwork, with communication. This house will be positively influenced by Jupiter. So the third house has to do with the next younger sibling. So your relations with your next younger sibling, or in general, for those of you who have a younger sibling, the life of the younger sibling in general might also prove to be very fruitful and very beneficial for that person the second half of the year. When Jupiter goes into the sign of Leo, Jupiter will be aspecting your seventh house of relationships, of love, of romance. So relationship should be around the corner the second half of the year for many of you. And for those of you who are already in a committed relationship, it could also indicate marriage. So some of you might be looking at marriage the second half of the year. Others of you who are single may suddenly find yourself in a committed relationship, meeting somebody special, meeting somebody new. Jupiter will be aspecting the sign of Aquarius the second half of the year, and that one is your ninth house. The ninth house has to do with travel. So with Jupiter aspecting your ninth house of travel, it will be a very good opportunity the second half of the year to travel, to go to different places. Jupiter will be benefiting this house. The ninth house has to do with good fortune as well. It has to do with good luck. So that second half of the year will bring an added benefit into your life, will bring good luck, good fortune, overall happiness as well. Finally, Jupiter will be aspecting the sign of Aries, and Aries is your 11th house. So the second half of the year, not only is Jupiter aspecting your 9th house of good luck and good fortune, but the 11th house has to do with financial gains, with easy gains. It also has to do with friendships. So you should see an increase of affluence, of good fortune, of financial gains, making new friends, networking, getting to meet different people as well. The second half of the year should be a very fun, very exciting time for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for additional forecasts and don't forget to subscribe.